Thank you so much for coming out tonight to listen to our second concert of our fifth season, actually. It's quite amazing. We have a really nice program in store for you tonight with a lot of variety, music spanning about 400 years of time. Before we get started, I always like to thank the folk at St. Bart's for allowing us to use their beautiful sanctuary. In fact, this program tonight is dedicated to Rector Michael Briggs, who is now in Texas, and we're very happy for him. He has important work to do there. But I have to thank him so much because he has virtually given us a home for the past 5 years. We're so grateful. But meanwhile, thank you to the vestry of this church and William Leeper and Becky Edison for letting us continue to rehearse and give performances here. At this point, I'd like to acknowledge my wonderful staff, my assistant director, Mr. Anthony Verge, Miss Barbara Gadet on cello, Mr. Nathan Boyd on double bass, Mr. Corey Winters on viola, and my special assistants for this concert, Mr. Mike Burkile. I should let you know I'm so very grateful to Mike. I injured my finger about a month ago and I could not play for a while, so he stepped right in and just met the occasion beautifully, as he always does. So thank you so much, Mike. All right, so we'd like to get started with our most contemporary piece by a living composer who happens to be a member of our viola section, Mr. Tom Liu. He has composed a piece for A-string Fort Smith, and it's quite a work. And he would like to talk to you about it before we play.
Hi, my name is Ton Liu. I'm a senior at Southside, and I composed this piece that you're about to hear us play. The name of this piece is Dun, which in Vietnamese means name. I took inspiration from Fiona Apple for this. Her first album is Tidal, as in waves and water. And she chose that name because it was a homophone with the word title, as in the title for an album. And she has very moody music, and the opening of this piece is very moody. So, about the piece. I based this piece on the hero's journey cliché, often found in literature, and you'll hear the arc as the hero progresses through this journey. The opening is a colorful adventure, the hero stepping out of the darkness with slow and brooding chords. Then the hero begins the journey with the melody changing character from dark and broody to light and gentle. In the middle, our hero goes through a revelation, becoming braver and courageous, as well as vulnerable and sensitive. He continues this journey as a dark melody before are transformed into celebrations of change. And finally, he returns from his adventure changed, back into the moody, indefinite darkness he made.
If I failed to mention, Ton is a senior at Southside High School. Next in the program, we move on to the contemporary composer Howard Hanson, very famous American composer. He taught at the prestigious Eastman School of Music. The piece we're about to play is called Rhythmic Variations on Two Ancient Hymns. The hymns are actually folk songs in the Scandinavian tradition that he was born into. The first hymn will be played by our violin soloist, Mr. Hugh Lee. the great Russian romantic composer Tchaikovsky. Our next work is by Tchaikovsky. It is a one-movement, lovely little piece that I was not aware of at all. Mr. Boyd, in fact, introduced the piece to me. It's called... Okay, rewind. Our next piece on the program is the double bass concerto by Edouard Manning. Now, Edouard Manning is a composer I had not heard about. Baroque composer who taught at the Paris Conservatory. He was impressed by the virtuosity of a double bass player at the time named Dragonet. Thus, the concerto, the Dragonet Concerto. We're playing one movement, and it will be performed by Mr. Adrian Stahl, who is currently a senior at Southside High School. Moving on to that gentleman I spoke about earlier, Tchaikovsky. So the name of this piece we are about to play is called Allegro ma non tanto, which means fast but not too fast. It was actually an exercise in composition that he composed while he was at the St. Petersburg Conservatory. It is a one-movement work. I think it's delightful, and I'm so glad I now know about this piece. each of you in this audience for coming tonight, and I want to thank you for supporting us and those that have supported us financially over 5 years' time. Thank you, because we are bigger and better than we've ever been, and we really appreciate your support. If you'll take a look at the last page of your program, page 8, it talks about a very special adventure. We have been invited to perform at the Boston Early Music Festival, which is a very prestigious early music festival. Actually, some folks deem it to be the best in the world. And we have been invited to play on the international stage. So we are in the process of raising funds. It's a costly trip. We'd like to take all of us and 3 guest artists. But to date, we have raised about $20,000. So we are on our way, and thank all of you that have helped us. And please spread the word. If you'd like to see us play in Boston, and you wouldn't be able to hear us, by the way, on YouTube at some point, please spread the word. And if anyone would like to invite friends or become a subscriber, please have them visit our website, astream.org, and join our email list. So at this point, I've asked Mr. Winters to talk about our last piece on the program, the Beaver, because he does such a nice job, such a historically nice job of talking about music. Thank you.
Good evening. This last piece is called Battaglia on 9, which literally means a battle for 9. It's a collection of short movements, each of which paints a picture of some aspect of military life. In some of the movements, Beaver tells us what the picture is supposed to be, either in the title of the movement or, quite literally, with a footnote in the score. The other movements are a little more open to interpretation, so I'll just tell you what I hear when we play them. So to me, the first movement, which is presto number 1, opens with bugle calls and horn calls. Sometimes the bugles are far away, and sometimes they're very close and loud. In between the horn calls, I hear the scurry and flurry of a military camp. We also hear what might be called a special effect, and I'm going to ask Mr. Perkpile to demonstrate because we have a few of these. Usually we play with the hair of the bow to get these nice singing tones. But Beaver has us play what's called collineo, which means with the wood, which gives a fun percussive sound. And as lovely as that sounds, it sounds even better when everybody does it. It's very fun. The second movement is a musical joke. Beaver gives it a title which translates to the dissolute company of all sorts of humor. So imagine some soldiers from many different nations all camped together, each singing their own song, probably after a few drinks. Beaver took several folk songs and melodies and stacked them on top of each other, but they don't really work together. In fact, they sound like a mess. It's supposed to sound like a mess. We're doing it correctly. Trust me. There are 7 different melodies in 4 different keys. There's D major, D minor, C major, G major melodies and 2 conflicting time signatures, and they all kind of crash together at the end into this dissonant chord. As Beaver writes in another footnote, this is discordant everywhere, for drunkards are wont to cry out in such different songs. The third movement is another playful one, and we get another unusual technique, which is pizzicato with the left hand. Now usually we play either arco or pizzicato with the right hand. Yeah, there we go. Playing pizzicato with the left hand allows us to switch back and forth more quickly. Next is a movement that Beaver calls Der Mars, which some people think is a reference to Mars, the Roman god of war, but more likely it just means the march. And we hear the low strings, the cellos and the basses, marching along to the beat of a snare drum. The snare drum effect comes from more collineo, but also from placing a piece of paper over the strings so it will buzz. And we learned as we were doing this that a thicker, heavier piece of paper gives a better sound, something closer to what they would have used at the time. And above this marching beat, a solo violin plays rhapsodic flourishes. And here we get to see how Beaver was a violin virtuoso who kind of pushed the boundary on what was possible on the violin as the violin kind of gets higher and higher and higher. The next movement, presto number 3, seems to be purely musical. It is a canon in 2 parts, which means everyone gets to play a stanzing melody at some point. Next is an aria. It's a little slow with a very high range. The violas play the bass line. I think of this one as the night before the battle, as the soldiers sit around camp thinking about the next day. Which is followed, of course, by the battle. As the violins and violas scurry across the battlefield, the basses and cellos play pizzicato notes that might representing the echoing boom, boom, boom of cannon fire. And finally, we end not with a celebration of victory, but with a lament, a slow, sad song of mourning. It seems an odd way to end this playful piece, but perhaps it's not surprising when we recall that Bieber grew up in the aftermath of the extremely destructive conflict called the 30 Years' War. I hope you enjoyed this piece.